Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Physical Therapy Private Practice Secrets of the Top 10%. My name is Brian Gallagher. I'm your host and physical therapist, and I am excited to bring you Nicole Walczak and Laura Lohman, two PTs here at MEG, working and heading up and developing our virtual front desk. I know a lot of you guys have been listening lately and know that we've been in pilot mode all the way back to April to now, and I honestly feel like we are quickly becoming the experts in virtual front desk needs, wants, development, software, hardware. And so we're getting a ton of questions. And my hope and anticipation is that as a result of you listening to this podcast, we're going to answer a bunch of your questions so that you can walk away and ask yourself and get comfortable. Is this the right move for me? Is this the right time for me to shift my operating basis inside my practice, change the paradigm, move into the 21st century of physical therapy development so I don't look like 1986? Because honestly, we have been doing this practice the same way for the last 30 to 40 years. And it is absolutely time, in light of recent developments economically, that we make this change, or at least that you give it some time, energy, and attention and consider making a change. It may be right for you. It may not be right for you. There are just certain things you have to weigh. And I'm hoping we can have a interview-based discussion here together that you listeners benefit from. For those of you who are new to our podcast, please click subscribe, be a follower, get this each and every week. We won't spam you. We're not solicitors or salespeople in any way. We're educators and developers, and that's what you have on this week's podcast. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you'll see Nicole Walczak. Nicole, raise your hand. And we got Laura Lohman down below. Raise your hand. And you're going to hear from all three of us. So let me just kick this over to Nicole. And in all honesty, I want to just say this. I started the virtual front desk and I dumped it on Nicole. So as Nicole's speaking, please take that with a grain of salt. We are really good friends, honestly, but as friends would be, she kind of jumped in with a fire hose and rescued my initial attempts at putting this in. And the joke is, it wasn't just, me being deficient. It grew quickly. It sprawled like cities sprawl, and it needed a true manager in Nicole, and she quickly recruited Laura. And now we are in a very, very good, happy place, and we've learned a ton. So Nicole, there are tons of listeners here listening who are looking to start up a practice, and they're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? I can start up a practice. That's one less person I have on my payroll, one less person I have to do performance reviews, management reviews, raises, sick, vacation, holiday, drama, all that stuff, right? The truth of the matter is, the fewer people you have to have internally on your payroll that you have to manage, more successful and streamlined your business will be, which is why this is such an advantageous move. What do you have to say to that? I'm going to tip that to, is this an advantageous move? You've been around a long time. You've worked and managed clinics. You now see both sides of the fence. Honest opinion, what do you think?
Well, I think we've always said that the front desk is like one of the most important parts of a successful PT business. So what we're trying to do is take that most important piece and refine it and just make it as efficient as possible, so that we can allow the owner to then focus on the other things that are really going to move the needle in terms of their progress, and allow them to focus on their CEO hat and their skills. So that's really what this allows those owners to do.
And I'm glad you mentioned the CEO hat, because as the CEO of a private practice for, 25 years, when I had it, well, actually been in business 25 years, practice owner for 18 years, sold my practice twice. I can tell you my CEO responsibility is growth and development, net revenue. So there's horsepower to put back into the business to have a thriving business, not a surviving business, but a thriving business, to promote my brand, how people look upon us. Have we earned the trust and respect of the community, and build a company culture that people wouldn't want to be anywhere else but with us. So staff winning, public winning, referral sources winning, and business winning. That is the goal as CEO. So whatever marginal changes in operations one has to make to improve and march down in that direction is the responsibility of us as a CEO. So I'm really glad that you did say that. Moving to you, Laura, when a CEO makes a move like this, as we have, and we've been working on this now since April, one of the very, I'm going to laugh because I tend to always underestimate this aspect. There's a concept for those of you who are listening. There's a concept, and Nicole's going to say, yep, you're right, Brian, you do this. It's called the estimation of effort. I tend to have a lower estimation of effort as to what things will. If I look at something and someone says, Brian, how heavy is that? I'm like, looks like 100 pounds. They're going to like, that's 200 pounds. Like, what are you kidding? Like, why did you think that was 100 pounds? I'm like, it looks like 100 pounds. Same thing here. There's a certain estimation of effort that goes into pulling off a virtual front desk so that you can economize and benefit from the streamlined effect of having your remote virtual front desk services so that you can go to bed at night and never worry about it. Laura Lohman, you came in and you picked up on that estimation of effort. And what we've discovered, and I'm going to let you talk about it, the heart and soul, the beating heart of the success of having a virtual front desk has far less to do, in my opinion, my words, with the software, with the hardware, with the phone system. It has much more to do with the talented people that you put on post to do that. And Laura, you picked up the pieces of development, establishment, professional enhancement, while Nicole picked up the oversight, management, direction, strategic planning, and sequencing. Speak a little bit to people, because they do understand the estimation of effort is critical in succeeding in anything you do. And I think I grossly underestimated that, and you successfully rescued it.
Oh, that's a big one. And I think, yes, like you said, we understand that the software, the hardware, all those things are really important parts, but in MEG Business being the experts in personnel, that's what we're really focusing on in the service delivery of this virtual front desk. And I think my estimation of effort was a little off initially too, but we really have learned so much in the last few months. And, we've all worked in practices and ran practices with a front desk coordinator, office manager, administrator who is right there in person.
Yeah.
That we have an easier time estimating the amount of effort to, orient, onboard, train, and enhance that personnel. We've learned so much though about what it takes to do that and do it well in a virtual setting. And just the amount of structure and foresight that has to go into producing not only, wonderful personnel for the job of front desk coordinator, but how do we tailor those services to the specifications that each practice and the owner needs and that they expect, and the unique nuances of their practice. So it's taken a lot of footwork and, things behind the scenes in making sure that our training, our onboarding and enhancement is very specific, is very, very detailed, because the communication in a virtual setting is different. The quality assurance and is also very different in a virtual setting. So it takes a lot of work up front to get that wonderful, well-oiled machine that is going to give you the economy of scale that you want, the benefits that you were talking about that we know a virtual front desk can provide.
And I think that's the great value of why people would seek out our help and our assistance in loading them up as a virtual front desk operating PT clinic, because we've already taken those lumps. We've already hit those potholes. We've already crashed into those trees as we've navigated through the forest trying to plot the course, right? And I feel like we know so much more today than what we did 4 to 6 months ago. So, for those of you listening, take that as your benefit, right? We've taken the cost of that and the energy of that so that you don't have to. Nicole, estimation of effort has also a lot to do with not just the training, not just the onboarding, not just the proficiency, but the management, right? And the management is this oversight of dovetailing the actions and functions of our staff that we're providing in conjunction with the functionality of the software, phone systems, and hardware. Can you speak to that? Because I think that was an unforeseen challenge, and we are still enhancing and developing and evaluating that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was so necessary that we included is having that ability to kind of monitor the performance of our team. And obviously being remote and virtual, that presents its own challenges. So we really did have to invest in a phone company that allows us to monitor the calls, and we can kind of budge in on the calls if needed, just to make sure that our team is performing at the level that we come to expect at MEG. The other part of that is having the virtual software where we're actually seeing the check-ins and being able to monitor to make sure that's going right. So yes, the environment, as we know, is our first key to private practice success. We can't ignore that just because we're working remotely here.
Yeah. And for a lot of people who listen, I still find that when they hear us talk about virtual front desk, they think kiosks.
Mhm.
Laura, can you please explain for the listeners, what is the difference between a kiosk setup in a front desk and what we're doing? Because we're not, at least at this point in time of technology and the time of the world, we're not advocates for a kiosk setup for multiple reasons. We're advocating live human engagement and interaction. Could you please point out the difference between the two? And I don't know, maybe answer what you hypothetically would think the listeners are thinking in their head?
So the kiosk is similar to what you might find at a self-checkout in a grocery store or an airport. That's what we're thinking of when we think kiosk. There's no person there speaking to you, interacting with you. It's buttons, maybe pre-programmed, that could help you do a limited amount of things or tasks. What we find to be the most valuable is to keep that live interaction where we have a virtual front desk coordinator on the other side of the screen, just like Brian, Nicole, and I on Zoom right now. We are speaking directly to someone that can answer all of our specific questions and the nuances and help and guide you through things. And that human aspect is so hugely important because, right, we're PTs and we're people, and we love building rapport with our patients and families. And that's so much of what we do. And one of the most beautiful things we've seen is we're not losing that. With our virtual front desk coordinators now, if you're wondering, gosh, does it lose that human element, that personal element? No, it doesn't. We have patients now in our beta test clinics that come in and they know our front desk coordinators by name and vice versa. They know the therapist that they're seeing and what they're working on and, maybe what they were, doing this weekend. So it's really nice to still have that very personal and human element to it. We've been able to maintain that.
Yeah,
So
we let them know that they are part of the process of making the experience good for the patient because it starts from that very first phone call all the way through to discharge.
absolutely. So what this is not an iPad touchscreen. What this is not a call center where you get some random person from the Philippines or India or anywhere else outside the US. What this is not is that you don't get somebody different each and every day, each and every afternoon, manning the phones, quote unquote. This is not any of that. This is you having a dedicated, devoted team of professionals who get to know your staff, your practice operations, your public, your patients, and your company culture. And as a result, Nicole, can you speak to the fact, because this really, I don't know the right word, blindsided me isn't the right word, but this is not what I had on my radar would happen, but it is in fact what is happening because of our large contribution on that front end as your patient registration person doing scheduling and over the counter collected and cancellation, no shows and all that. As we hold down the fort on the insurance verification officer post, verifying benefits, doing authorizations, reauthorizations, and as we provide that component of managerial oversight, making sure the staff are doing what they're supposed to be doing, the stats are in, their time, their vacation, their holiday, there's nothing for you to manage. You, meaning the listener, you, the practice owner, you have nothing to manage. We manage that all. I didn't realize what a practice management component we're providing for these owners.
Right.
Nicole, you have completely increased the gross revenue and net revenue and volume and practice outcomes of, just for you guys listening, we have one piloted office in the heart of New York City. We have another one in rural Colorado. We wanted to have both extremes, different time zones, because we wanted to experience every possibility. And Nicole, speak to that, because that really has been a surprising outcome. It's not just like replacing a post, it's like enhancing the practice operations.
Yeah, if you've done any training in MEG Academy, you know the front desk management system is not just relegated to the front desk. It's all of those key pieces. The owner has to be on board. The clinicians have to be on board. So one of the elements that we actually include, in addition to our monthly board of director meetings, and then we have weekly team meetings, but we also have an all staff meeting where all the clinicians come together before we even start virtual front desk, just so we can get the buy-in from the clinicians, because your whole team has to be on board with this new change in the way that we're doing things. So that has been, instrumental in making things go right, because you really need those boots on the ground team members making things go right in order for our virtual front desk to be implemented properly.
Absolutely. And I really think the overarching successful ingredient here for us in the long haul is not compromising. And I know that's internal for those of you that are MEG clients. We don't compromise. We don't want to be second in anything. We want to be in the top 10% of everything we do. So as we've refined our staff operations, we're critically evaluating the software, the hardware, the phone systems, because what we want to do is drop ship the whole bundle to you and be like, okay, we've done our background checks. We've done our research on both ends. We've rolled out our rollout program. We're now ready to go live inside your office. And we want to make sure that those components, the software, the hardware, the phone system, matches the caliber, the quality of caliber of delivery that we are going to provide you and the human beings that are going to work your front desk. We're very confident in our ability to have superior people working for you in handling the day-to-day operations, because that's what we've been doing for years. We're a training company first and foremost. The fact that we provide billing services and credentialing services and now virtual front desk services, it just makes it easier for us because we're the ones that have been training front desk staff for years. So we have all of those check sheets, all those professional enhancements. You guys, if you were to speak to me and ask me a question that would be relevant for one of our listeners. So in other words, what I'm saying is, pretend you're not Nicole and Laura right now. Pretend you're a listener. You have a physical therapy practice. You can mock up whatever kind of practice. What is the ideal practice owner you think who's going to most be reaching for our services? And what questions do you think I would need to answer for them coming on board? So Nicole, you think of a practice owner who you think this is probably the best fit for and why, and ask me questions that I would need to answer for them that would convince them like, yes, I want to make the switch. Laura, you pretend you're a client who's on the fence because this may not be for every private practice owner. So I want to be honest with our audience. I want to answer that too. Why might this not be for a private practice owner? Or why might this be something that they could sit on the fence with, sit back on, maybe not do it today, maybe wait. I want to hear the pros and cons. There are some people that are just instantly going to benefit and they should have done it yesterday. Nicole, that's the person you're going to pretend to be. Laura, this is somebody else who's living it, they're looking at it and they want to know, is this right for me or is this not right for me? And I'm going to answer honestly, like, maybe this isn't the right thing for you, but maybe it is. Here's some things to consider. Put me on the spot. So Nicole, you be that owner first.
Okay. So what if I'm an owner that has a great front desk person? Maybe let's say I'm understaffed, but I have like a great lead front desk person, but I'm really looking to get the headache of trying to hire and support, and I got a revolving door of people coming through. How could I take on your services but not lose that key person?
Okay, so let me understand. So let's say you are a 2,000 square foot office, family practice.
Mhm.
You're a busy office. You're doing about 150 to 180 visits a week, let's say, and you have at that size, you would probably need 2 people working that desk, right? I mean, if you're open 5 or 6 days a week, doing 180 visits a week in a 2,000 square foot office, you got to cover all those hours, correct?
Yes, you make a good point too, because we do have a very specific algorithm that we use, because we're not just talking about front desk services. We're talking about the insurance verification officer. We're talking about overall management. I mean, now we're starting to add those FTEs up. So yes, for sure, that office, you would need like one office manager. You would need at least one other person who does front desk IVO.
I mean, let's face it, the average physical therapy practice in America is open somewhere between 55 and 60 hours a week. If you heard that and you're listening as part of our audience right now and you're like, ooh, I'm not open that much. Well, then my question is, why not? What are you doing?
Right.
You're paying all that overhead. You're
But you
not
need,
you're
yeah,
not operating effectively. You're not operating efficiently if your doors aren't open treating patients 55 to 60 hours a week. So if you're not doing that, as a matter of fact, I don't even know why you're not open 6 days a week. I mean, my best clients are open 6 days a week. So Nicole, what you're saying is they have one good person,
right.
but the second post has just been a revolving front
Yes.
desk situation. So somebody has mastered it. They've done really well. They're doing firecrackers, but they're stressed out because they can't stabilize that front desk. They can't do it. It's just this constant train. Okay, so here's my feedback to that. So if you're the owner, I'm going to say, Nicole, let's face it. You went to physical therapy school. You did not go to front desk school. You did not go to, admin school. You did not go to insurance verification officer school. All of this aspect is not the level of expertise you have. This isn't the training you have. So I can understand the difficulty and challenges you have hiring this person, let alone putting them on post, let alone professionally enhancing them for long-term retention. But be that as it may, you have a member who's been with you who you are ultimately going to lose if you don't stabilize this front desk, because this person's going to burn out, right? That's what I hear you saying to me.
Correct.
In that scenario, what I would suggest is, why don't we talk about sending that person home? Because who doesn't want to work from home today? Let's send that person home. We're going to put them on that system. We could actually employ that person if they meet our qualifications through our interview process, our 5-phase hiring, and our reference check. Obviously, that shouldn't be a problem. You love them. They should be great. They come off your payroll. They go onto our payroll. They're the lead person. Then we supply the secondary person. Now we have your 2 FTEs in, and now we manage, oversee, operate, and run your front desk from home. It's a smooth transition. You kept the best and the brightest you've had. We've supplemented with somebody else who's probably going to do insurance verification or patient red. Just depends on who the person is that you have and what their talents are. We're going to complement their talents. And here's the thing. You never have to worry about a sick day, a vacation day, a PTO day, a performance review, raises. You never have to worry about Con Ed. We take all of that under our umbrella, and these people are going to be higher skilled and highly trained people, inching up every single month through their training, because we have a ladder of training inside MEG for all of our personnel. So I think you would be a prime candidate for our services. If you, and let me just say, let's say Nicole said, Brian, I'm working in one of those markets where it's a dog eat dog world. I can't find somebody to save my life.
Yeah.
I don't even have people showing up for the interviews. When they come and they take the job, they'll leave if there's something down the street for 50 cents higher. They're out of here. There's no staff loyalty. They're just looking at that. They're just punching the clock. They're exchanging time for money. That's happening in a lot of markets all around the country, especially in the urban markets, happening a lot. That candidate, that practice owner is prime for us to salvage, because we can immediately provide you that staff member. Laura, how about somebody else on the flip side who's like, yeah, I'm not in that problem, and what would they look like when they came to us and talked to us about the service?
How about like a small startup who is wearing, every hat? Maybe they're seeing 45 visits a week and they've got another half or maybe full-time FTE, and they said, well, I know how to take the copays and I check patients in, and I've trained the other therapists to do it too. I can see the benefit to having somebody man the front desk, but I really feel like I can probably do the rest of it my own. I'm doing okay now. I'm getting by with what I have. So, do I make the investment, or should I just keep trying to do it all myself?
That's a really good example. So you're talking somebody who's been open less than a year.
Yeah.
They're wearing every hat. They're running around. That could go both ways. That could go both ways. In one respect, the person may say, hey, we are just slowly ramping up with more and more patients. Our month over month patient volume is just slowly showing an increase. It's really nothing robust. It's not happening like it should. So we have no choice but to keep our costs down, run a part-time front desk, do what I can. Maybe my spouse is helping out. I'm having my aide in tech dual hatted and stuff. That's a bootstrap approach. That's a DIY approach to practice. And you know what? I did that when I opened my practice. I wore everything, did everything. I painted walls and ran Cat5 cables and did all that. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't do that though. I would not take the DIY approach, but a lot of people are convinced, why would I pay for something I could do myself? So maybe that's you. Maybe that's you, the listener who's listening right now. And you're like, why would I spend any more money than I need to get the job done that's in front of me? The reason why you don't want to do that is because you're going to stay small longer. Your runway is going to be longer to the successful position that you want to be in, to the successful clinic, the ideal scene you're trying to develop. It's going to be longer because you're holding it down. Because every single moment you're spending time doing something somebody else could get paid to do, you're not doing the things that only you should be doing, that only a CEO should be doing: developing the practice, driving more new business, building the brand, enhancing the experience of my staff internally. Because you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the hours between your treating and your notes, and now you're juggling between billing and front desk or whatever else you're doing. Yeah, you could look at it like, this is not the right time for me. Or you could take the viewpoint I'm giving you, which is why I said to Laura, could go both ways. You could take the viewpoint I'm giving you saying, no, you're running your business from the viewpoint of a therapist, not the viewpoint of an executive. An executive does not do that. They do not do that. They outsource accounting, legal, billing, and front desk, even sometimes marketing and social media, because they want to spend all of their time, energy, and effort on the resources of patient care experience, clinical experience. I thought you were going to say, Laura, hey, I'm a PT. I've got, no problem hiring front desk people. I've got my office manager and my other front desk staff member. Yeah, she needs some brushing up every now and again, and we got to pick her up and put her back on the cart. She'll forget to do this or that. But the office manager's was taxed with that. I'm just wondering if I could economize and lower my overhead by possibly going virtual. You know what? That's not a good enough reason to go virtual, in my opinion. If you have a really good person and you have a really good secondary person, and you're not having trouble with your metrics and stuff like that, you're doing great. I would have a hard argument to try to wean you over to a virtual front desk. With anything in business, it's like, find a problem and solve it. If someone comes to me with that story, I'm like, where's your problem? Like, literally, where's your problem? Now, if they were to say, hey, that person just quit and I can't find somebody else, well, there's your problem. Or they say, hey, I have people, but I just can't get them to operate to the quality of standard of practice I want. We're writing off timely filing. We're having bad authorizations. We're not getting good verification. There's your problem. We here at MEG are always here to fill and solve a problem. If you're coming to me with no problem and it's running well, then hey, it's a great conversation. Good to know you, but I'm not going to advocate for you switching out of something that's working. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, it does. And I think also, geographically speaking wise, it could really serve a good purpose if it's decreasing a commute time and you can recruit better people for that position. I think there are other reasons why you could go remote and virtual, and it could really act as an attractor for staff.
And that's a perfect segue to talking about an attractor. Let's say you have a really good staff member who's working at front desk, but you know as well as I do, you're paying them somewhere between $15 and $20 an hour. Some places out west, it's getting over $20 an hour. Well, what you're confronted with is, well, if I'm going to pay that much, because salaries have been going up, right? Wages are going higher. So maybe you're that practice owner like, Brian, I need that person to do a lot more. They need to do front desk patient registration. They need to do initial insurance verifications. They need to do authorizations, reauthorizations. Well, now you're overloading an $18 an hour person with all of these multitude of tasks, all of this multitasking, and now things are falling through the cracks. It's not because they're not a good, able, competent person, but because you're trying to make those wages make sense, you're giving them more to do, and things are falling apart. So in that regard, what I would probably say is split it down the middle. Keep that great front desk person, push the patient registration, scheduling, and scheduling, registration, cancellations, no shows, fax, file, phone, push all that on them, whether you send them home or not, which you decide. but give us the insurance verification officer post. We'll just take all of the new incoming patients and all the auths and re-auth, and we'll assign one person to do all your insurance verifications. For years, I've been saying, no, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. I've been asked for years to do that. Well, now, because we are virtual, we can do that for you. You don't have to take the whole enchilada. You can keep that front desk registration piece if you want, and let us back support you with all the insurance verifications. Guaranteed, you're not going to run into timely filing issues or lack of authorizations or misappropriated communications in your EMR system. We're going to remote right in, and it's all going to be right there for you guys to rock and roll with. You'll never have to worry about it again.
Agreed.
Both of you guys feel strong about that, right?
I do. I mean, and I can't tell you how much of the windfall of like back billing that we've caught up on with our beta. So it's all the money that people will often look at the expense of it, but think of all the money that you're leaving on the table by not doing the timely filing, by not doing the proper authorizations, by not doing the proper, having the unbilled list go down because we have all the things that we need, the proper ID, the proper birth date. So all of those pieces were actually helping to, increase collections.
And you guys know firsthand, each one of our beta testers have had an increase in collections since switching. Not only have they had the services covered, they've had an increase in their GI per month in their monthly collections because of the proficiency and the detail that we put into providing those services, unlike the people they've had in the past. So it's been a double benefit for them. They've gotten rid of a major headache that they haven't been able to fill, and they've gotten more income in doing it, collected income. They're paying us, obviously, but they would be paying payroll too. So it's kind of that kind of thing. I mean, I wish I knew how much that was going to be a benefit going into it, but I am pleasantly surprised to see how much of a benefit that really is. Again, estimation of effort. We're providing greater benefit than I thought we would right from the get-go. So any parting words you guys want to share with people? I mean, people are looking at 2022 going into 2023, inflation's going up, costs are going up, the labor market's becoming more challenging. I'm fishing in a small pond. There's only so much talented, people in my workforce that I could hire from, and I just can't find them. This, for those folks, I think is a great fit. But you guys have been working the front lines of it. What would you share? What parting words should we share with people who are really considering it? And let's invite them to reach out to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I think just thinking outside the box. This may be the solution for you. It may not be, but I think all private practice owners right now are in a time where we've got to think differently about solutions to combat some of the situations that we're faced with. And going virtual, whether partial, whole, your team, our team, I think is a viable solution for, I would argue, most people. From what we've learned in the last few months, it just depends on how much and which part of that solution is right for you at this time.
Well said. Well said. And I love the way you said, Laura, they can go all virtual. We can take it all on. You never have to worry about it again. We'll have our monthly meetings and weekly meetings. You're going to know everything's going on. Or we could split it. We can split it. If you have a great character who's doing great scheduling and cancellations, no-shows, over the counter collected, we could take on the IVO, the insurance verification officer hat. Nicole.
Yeah, I echo what Laura says. And I really think now is the time to reach in and find out. We can be very nimble and work with a variety of different types of clinics and practices. So we can work with you and figure out what the best solution is going to be for you, and if it is a solution at all.
I think, Nicole, that's really, really well said. What I'm hearing you say is you may not have all the information listening just to this podcast to decide single-handedly, is this the right move for me or not? But after a practice assessment call with you, Nicole, or you, Laura, or myself, after that call, you're going to have so much more data to think with, so much more information to process. You will clearly know in the discussion with us if that's the right fit for you. And as you can tell from this podcast, we're going to be the first ones to tell you if it's not. Right. We're not here to sell you something. We're here to advocate for what's in your best interest for running your practice. Even though I'm going to tell you right now, I believe full-heartedly in three major things to make your practice more successful for 2023 as we look at these looming 4% Medicare cuts that are coming in 2023. I believe strongly, based on my 30 years in this industry, as a CEO, here's my parting tips for professional success. Tip number one, I think you should put every ounce of effort you can into hybridizing your practice. What do I mean by that? I think you should try to get at least 20% of your annual income from cash-based services, along with your insurance-based services, at least 20%. Number two, I think you absolutely need to throw out the box. Don't think outside the box. I think it's time to absolutely throw out the box. Stop doing what the industry of physical therapy has been doing for the last 20, 30, 40 years. Salary plus benefits, and let's just try to get people to do more people and more evals, discharge, more evals, discharge. Go to a pay for performance model across the board. I just can't even imagine trying to be in practice for the next 5 years without being on a pay for performance model. You absolutely, in my strong opinion, need to embrace, or at least get educated on that. And you can reach into us. We will educate you on how our pay for performance model works based off of quality, production, and efficiency. And number three, remote out, virtual out, everything you possibly can. Because when you do that, you only pay for that volume which you need. When you outsource billing, you're only paying for the billing and collection services you need. Our MEG billing solutions has been growing like crazy every single month, and it's never stopped. Outsource your credentialing. Our credentialing department has a waiting list on a regular basis. And now you have the beautiful benefit of outsourcing your front end. Why? Because all of that is admin. Focus all of your time, energy, and effort into the delivery of the physical therapy services. It only makes sense. When you go to a hair salon, the only people in the salon are the people who are going to touch your head and do your hair. There's nobody else in there sweeping the floors and nobody else checking in at the front desk like it used to be 15 years ago. That is a thing of the past. I think physical therapy is going to be like that as well. So that's my parting advice. I think those three things are going to revolutionize PT: hybrid practice model, pay for performance, and outsource everything. Only pay for that which you need as you need it. As you grow, you purchase more and more valuable services, and you have less to run and manage, less headaches, less fires, less revolving door. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Laura. Thanks for sharing. You guys are on the front lines. I'm inviting all of you to please click and follow. Give us a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm so much. Reach out to us. We definitely want to hear what your challenges are, and we will uniquely discuss your particular situation. And if it's right for you, we will advocate for it. If it's not, we will give you suggestions of things you can do in the meantime, until which time this is a perfect solution for you. Thank you very much. As always, start each and every day expecting to do well. Bye, everybody.